Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division gameplay today by me, Vulcan. This is a replay commentary of a 4 vs 4 on Colombelles, and in this one I was joined by Haymaker, Bubblebox and Valh on the German side. 3 of us playing the SS-Panzer divisions, and Bubblebox there on his own with the 91st Luftlander. We're playing against 3 3rd Armoured decks and 1 15th Infantry Scots division. So, I mean, a pretty even sort of deck start. We've got 3 armoured to face off against our 3 Panzer divisions, and then the Scots division possibly to face off against the 91st Luftlander. It depends obviously where they go from the start. But I'm just going to put this to my point of view because I want to talk about our strategy at the start of the game. So, I'm going to be deploying all of my troops over here with Valh's. And this may give you a clue that we were going to Blitzkrieg through the town. Our plan was basically to double push this town and see how far we could get in this game to create like a nice spearhead through the enemy front line. On the left side we've just got Valh with a couple of his recon unit and the AT, but the majority of our forces are in the centre attacking this town. And then we're going to have between us and Bubblebox, Haymaker covering the sort of tree lines and hedgerows, and then on the right side of the factory, Bubblebox is going to have a nice job to basically defend the factory side of things with his Volksjäger and so on. Let's have a quick look at our units before the game starts, and we are bringing in both of our Fireflies at the start. I'm going to be bringing in both of my 259s as well. These are half-tracks with the autocannons. They are just way too good. I really enjoy using them. They can destroy half-tracks incredibly easily, like the American half-tracks, and therefore are almost like a necessity against any like American decks. I've also got a couple units of Panzer Grenadiers in their own half-tracks. Valh has a couple units in Opel Blitzes, as well as a recon squad and a command infantry as well. I also have my own command infantry, and Valh's brought up a anti-air. And then I'm also going to be bringing up a mortar half-track there to provide us with some fire support. We shift our Fireflies over onto these roads so that we can move them up in the open on the right side of the town so they don't get ambushed by enemy forces, whilst the rest of our forces continue towards the main town. Here you can see Haymaker's forces. He's going to go very heavy on the AT guns at the start, and he's also going to be bringing in a couple of those half-tracks with the autocannons. But he's basically got 4 AT guns at the start just to cover off the middle of this map against any sort of armoured advance, any sort of half-tracks or light vehicles. Nothing is going to break through 4 AT guns. However, that does leave him vulnerable to the mortar strikes at the start of the game, and also maybe airstrikes depending on what sort of decks the enemy have created. I'm wheeling off my mortar to the left side here to be covered by this tree line, just about in range of the centre of this town, so that's what the plan was, but we managed to get really far up without even seeing any enemy forces, so we just start to unload in the middle of the town, and now we've already got a great position in order to advance. So Valh's Panzer Grenadiers trying to get into position, ready to ambush the enemy, and now my half-tracks wheeling up into position to try and take out the enemy's carriers and half-tracks. This Lloyd carrier here is carrying a 6-pounder, and the 6-pounder is dropped off. Valh's Firefly is pretty vulnerable there. Fortunately, the first 6-pounder shot doesn't hit, otherwise it would have hit the side armour of the Firefly. But the second round goes straight into the front armour, and one of the 6-pounders has already been destroyed by Valh's Spearhead, and then the second one goes down briefly after being pinned down by the machine gun of that recon squad. And there goes the 6-pounder, and both of our Fireflies are safe on the right side. Now I can also freely move up my half-tracks down the road to engage these rifles squads. So we've bumped into the Scots player with his rifles, and we're making pretty short work of him at the moment, doing a ton of damage with my half-tracks here. the enemy Vickers HMG gets destroyed as he doesn't get it into the buildings. And all of these rifles here should be also in buildings, but they're just getting pinned down in the open before they can get anywhere near them. So I was surprised to not see him pull these back, but I'm not entirely sure if he was aware he could do so. Which is a bit of a problem at the moment in Steel Division. I think there is a disparity between like the levels of players, which you can't really like crack down on because there's no like unit statistics or like player statistics in the lobbies, so you don't know if somebody's got a high win rate or not. But either way, here we are slamming the Scots Division. We are going to be continuing to pin down these rifles until they die. On this left side though, we are kind of being flanked on the left side of the town. Some of my units of Panzer Grenadiers weren't always engaged in this fight, unfortunately, but I begin to move them forward so that we can get line of sight onto this last rifle squad. And the idea here is to just try and pin this one down, and then maybe we can make them surrender. Meanwhile, on the right side, move forwards the Fireflies into range of the 30 caliber machine gun, and now my mortar carrier is going to be able to fire. I moved up the mortar to the centre of the town as well, just to make sure that that's actually in range to help us out. My half-track there with the autocannon using the remainder of its autocannon ammunition to try and take out the enemy half-track, and we do just about do it before running out of ammunition. Valh's got my back though with an Opal Blitz, and we are going to be able to resupply those pretty much instantly. So I'm just going to reverse this half-track into range, and that can start opening up again with its main gun. So as long as that doesn't get hit, it's going to remain resupplying its autocannon, and will basically never run out of ammunition as long as this Blitz doesn't run out of ammunition either. You can see the in the bottom right, the supply dropping dramatically as these half-tracks open up onto the enemy. So now there's a couple more Vickers HMGs here, but they really can't do anything about my half-track, so I'm literally just driving the half-tracks right up to the buildings. And now I'm going to be moving up the autocannon APCs again as well. Both of them still alive here, as you can see. And we are going to be just running over the enemy in the town. And we've taken full advantage of that now. Enemy airplane is going to be coming in. This was just a Storch, or it's an enemy recon with the rockets on it. That little Rosie there. Don't know why I called it a Storch, because Storch is German, but there we go. We do pin down the armoured rifles on this side with the help of my APCs, and we just run through that as well. So we now control all of this town. Our Blitzkrieg has been effective. We pushed on to 2 players. Meanwhile, on the right side, Haymaker's doing a great job getting a lot of this infantry quite far up, and furthermore on the right side, Bumblebox maintaining his position here against the enemy. So this poor mortar carrier, well, that got left behind, didn't it? And that's going to be hit very hard by the autocannons. And now we're basically waiting to move up with the rest of our forces. My half-track over on this left side does unfortunately get destroyed, engaging some armoured rifles. I brought over that infantry squad just to make sure that the front line doesn't collapse on the left side to some random unit that decides to move forwards. There we go, managed to get rid of that infantry and push back the line a little bit more. So I've discovered their M21 mortar carrier, and that's going to be engaged by my 259. And now, as you can see, the spearhead is starting to be formed. So Valh's pushing all the way up with his 222 here with the recon squad, and we're seeing exactly how far we can get. We've currently got 57% territory and currently a +1 lead. And now what we can do is swing from right to left across the American player. who is currently getting a lot of his half-tracks picked off by Valh's pack gun and the Panzer II. I'm sorry I keep calling pack guns, but it just feels weird just to call them packs, because I don't know, it just doesn't, to me it just doesn't sound right. I've always called them pack guns, and I think most people who are British or American call them pack guns as well, even though pack technically means, you know, cannon, really, doesn't it? But either way, unfortunately we lose our pack on the left side to some enemy infantry, so I'm bringing up this 222 with a recon squad, and that's going to hopefully try and spot some infantry for me whilst I move over the Panzer Grenadiers to try and take them out. This 57mm gun is going to be able to shoot at Valh's half-track there. Let Valh know so that he starts retreating his Panzer II, because I don't want him to get that shot by the 57mm. And now my little half-tracks here are moving up. There is a M5A1 on the horizon, and there's also an AT gun here. And I'm trying to kill off the mortar carrier at the moment with those autocannons. I was wary of the M5A1 just coming round to kill off my half-tracks. As you can see, there it is. So I basically reversed to the point where he's going to be forced around the corner of this tree line here, and when he does come out, well, we can just slam him with the autocannons at close range and get that kill. So we crew knocked out, instantly. And as soon as the other half-track gets on target, we do blow up the Stuart at close range. No problem whatsoever. Now I also managed to get the half-tracks onto the 57mm gun here as well to pin that down before it can fire. And at that close range, well, it didn't really stand a chance. So sorry I just completely lost my voice for a second there. But either way, we are continuing. The Firefly's now moving up freely through the centre of the map, and we've created this massive bulge in the enemy front line, moving us to 63% territory. This enemy recon aircraft not really going to do anything with its rockets. Over on the left side, Valh's now rushing up a couple of half-tracks with more Panzer Grenadiers, and I'm now moving over my 222, but I really need to be careful that it doesn't get picked off by this AT gun. Got the Panzer Grenadiers moving up to maintain their pinning onto the armoured rifles, and I'm now moving back these 250s to come and resupply at Valh's Opel Blitz, because they both nearly run out of ammunition again. That's probably the main issue with these two half-tracks, is that they can run out of ammunition very easily. Over on the left side though, Valh's not having a fun time against this 57mm gun. And well, we managed to find some armoured rifles over here. They get pinned down and destroyed by the 222. Nice and easy. Now we have some scouts engaging my Aufklärer. So pinning down the armoured rifles in the open again with the Panzer Grenadiers there, and I'm moving across the 222 to get in range of these scouts to get rid of that. So we're just sort of securing our left flank at the moment with our light vehicles and infantry. Unfortunately, my recon squad does get destroyed trying to get in range to attack the scouts, because the scouts there only have the MP40, which is very, very close range weapon, and they can't use it across the open there, whereas the enemy squad, the scouts, had the M1 Garand, so they can use that at longer range. By the way, my 222 done a great job so far, bringing up another Panzer Grenadier squad, and this is just to get some more infantry that I can charge down the 57mm AT gun with. So recon coming in once again. At least he's making good use of it, trying to use it as much as possible. And now we have a 38 Lightning coming in. That's going to force Valh's Firefly fall back, and we have a Jumbo on the horizon. Now Valh has some great infantry in position here. I should have been starting to move up my infantry as well, but I've now got a Panther D on the way, and so has Valh. So we're going to be starting to basically, I guess, camp their spawn against these Jumbos. So got the Fireflies ready, and we've pushed all the way through. So now the idea is to just break their armour as they come out. I've also got a BF-109 in the sky to protect us against enemy airstrikes, because when they force us to fall back with those airstrikes, it does leave us vulnerable to the enemy armour. Unfortunately, one of my APCs does go down as I'm moving them to the right to assist Haymaker, and they bump into a 57mm gun here, and both of them get destroyed, unfortunately. But it does allow Haymaker to get his Panzer IV on target, and he's going to start to try and take it out with that. Meanwhile, on this right side, the Ersatztruppen engaging some armoured rifles. Not the best engagement for the Ersatztruppen because they have this broken heart symbol here, which means they have low morale. A nice strike from Bubble Box's BF-109 there to sort of even things out a little in terms of morale. My BF-109 still flying about in the back line, and that's now just going to sit there waiting for enemy aircraft to come out and attack our Fireflies and so on. They are charging us with Churchill 6s and also the Jumbo, the Scots division there, teaming up with the US division to try and destroy some of these tanks, but we have a lot of tanks. So my Panther D picking off one of the Churchills, no problem whatsoever. Panzer IV does unfortunately get bombed out, but that's going to reverse away from the Jumbo as my Firefly and Panther D continue the engagement. So I've got a little Panzer division going on here. We managed to shoot down a Spitfire as well, but yeah, I've got this Panther D next to the Firefly with a Panzer II command tank, and then also a Panzer IV command tank as well. At the back here you can see my BF-109 is engaging with the Lightning. There was a continuous air engagement going on throughout this game, but as he gets teamed up upon, unfortunately, my BF-109 is going to get shot down by the Lightning on his tail. He hung around for just a little bit too long and couldn't really get out of there. Here we go. My group of tanks moving forwards. Valh is supporting us with his Flak 38. And he's also got his own Panther D now moving up with a couple of these SPW-232s. And what we probably should have done at this point, something that we maybe could have done a bit better, is had one of us move round to the left side with our tanks, so that we can like almost get two lines of fire onto the enemy tanks down the road. Because at the moment, like the only line of sight that we have is like from this Panther D, for example, all the way down the street. Whereas if we had another sort of bunch of tanks on the left side, we could push from, or fire from left to right to hit those tanks as they fall back. And that would have been a really nice idea, but obviously there is all these hedgerows that we would need to push through, and that would require quite a lot of resources of like infantry and so on in order to do so. So yeah, we just decided to continue the attack straight up from the front, which did become a bit stagnated because we couldn't penetrate the front armour of the Jumbos very effectively. But all of our tanks now lined up in this hedgerow here, waiting for enemy tanks to show themselves. Meanwhile, over on this right side, Bubble Box still fighting on with his Ersatztruppen, and Haymaker's just brought up some reinforcing Panzer Grenadiers to make some ground into these tree lines in the centre. But overall, still running a 61% territory. So that's giving us the +2 for conquest, and victory condition is rolling up very quickly. I'm starting to run forwards my Panzer Grenadiers. We managed to get rid of the AT gun on this side. Somehow they make an infantry squad surrender in this little pocket here. But I'm of course still moving up my Panzer Grens to do the job, supported by the 222 and the half-track. That's going to get surrounded, and we are going to get rid of that tiny bit of territory that they gained in our backline, whilst our engagement with the Jumbo does continue. Panther D, unfortunately not being able to remain on target. Over on the right side here, I brought up a Panzerwerfer, to help Haymaker make some ground. The Panther D, again, still continuing the engagement here, and now the Firefly as well in line of sight to attack that tank. Enemy rocket strikes coming in to force some of our units to fall back. Just so many bounces onto this jumbo. I think it's starting to get to the point where my Firefly and my Panther D started to run out of ammunition on their main gun because the jumbo was taking so many hits. And again there, just my units are not only like hitting and bouncing, but also just missing. It was annoying. By the way, I have my BF-109 coming in. That's to try and shoot down this recon recon aircraft once and for all. And goodbye to that recon aircraft. So BF-109 just flying around, having a little bit of fun whilst we continue to make the push on the left side. My 222 now pushing all the way up and causing a massive incursion into enemy territory here. Panzer Grenadiers are busy running across the open in this field to try and get to the next tree line, and I've also got this half track seeing how far he can get as well. So total victory is coming up in 3 minutes and 40 seconds, and we are basically continuing to make this jumbo fall back constantly with more and more bounces every time, which is crazy. Either way, a little bit of an attack in the centre after my Panzerwerfer had finished its job. The American is coming at us with the M8 Scott and the 57mm AT gun. But he's actually got line of sight onto my 222, which I didn't really notice on the right side. Just trying to get my Panzerwerfer to fire its second volley. But unfortunately that 222 does go down. Meanwhile on the left side though, my 222 is moving forwards to try and pick off some of these half tracks, but there is now an enemy tank approaching. Another good old jumbo, I think that was. And now that's going to be starting to fire onto this 222, which is pretty doomed. Can't really save that now. As soon as that tank gets onto target, goodbye to that armoured car. However, it has given us a chance to move up the Panzer Grenadiers, and on this left side we do actually manage to take out the enemy AT gun. That gives us a little more room to breathe as our armoured forces maintain grouped up towards this town. We can't actually push into the town, but we can remain here until we destroy the enemy jumbo. And then all we need is just some infantry to push all the way in. And now, myself and Valh, since it did just reach Phase C, are bringing in our Flak 88s. So you've got an entire convoy here of Flak 88s. And they were to stop any airstrikes onto our tanks, which were almost constant at the moment from these P-38 Lightnings. So the idea being that we just create like a wall of Flak 88s, and as soon as like enemy aircraft come in, they just get absolutely slammed. But unfortunately, we don't really see it come to fruition, since there is only 1 minute and 20 left on the map, and our spearhead throughout this game has worked incredibly well. And this was just a game really not to show us just rolling over the enemy, which, I mean, sometimes it just seems like it is, but in this case it was like a concerted effort to make this big old spearhead into enemy territory, which if you zoom out has worked very, very well between myself and Valh. Just like two players working together to push very hard in a certain location. Now the 57mm gun that's deployed on the left side there gets ruined instantly with all of the tanks opening up onto it. And now Valh's actually brought up some infantry, got it into the town here to engage these rifles which are trying to defend. But it's too late for them. I've got another Panther D joining the rest of my troops here. They're supported by this Panzer IV. Unfortunately my Panzer II does go down towards the end there, which was unfortunate. Also, he does now have a AT gun with 3-star veterancy there, which is going to be hitting my Panther D, and just as the game is about to come to an end with 10 seconds left on the clock, that 17 pounder really starts to do some work. It destroys 2 of my Panther Ds. But with 1 second left on the clock, that is victory. So, makes you wonder why they didn't bring in those AT guns sooner, but basically did only just occur at that point. We'd made so much ground, and after 22 minutes and 20 seconds we won the game by reaching the 2,000 points we needed. So in this game you can see that I did get 1,750 kills to 860 losses, which was really good. I was supported by Valh, who also did relatively well. Bubblebox had a hard time on the right side trying to defend that, but he didn't really lose much ground, which allowed us to maintain our lead throughout the game. And Haymaker, supporting us in the centre, did a good job as well, just making sure that he held the line there. So where our concerted effort was pushing through and spearheading the enemy line, well, it worked out. And that was basically what I wanted to show you guys in this one. It was a pretty quick game, but hopefully you appreciate it. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.